to have all the power, and that's what socialism will bring about. So we have to understand there's macro socialism and micro socialism. Macro socialism, I would believe for a large population is bad. Micro socialism for a small population of people that agree on a lot of things is good. So we have to, when we talk about socialism, we have to understand those things. What's the other thing you said about the left? What they believe?
No, culture,
Oh yeah,
culture,
yeah.
freedom.
Well, that part is true. The left owns culture. When we think about Hollywood and we think about the record labels, that is wholly owned by the left. And the left does, in many ways, dictate the culture. It's not that they're receptive to culture, they dictate the culture. They control the culture through Hollywood, media, and music. And the right has done a poor job of acknowledging the importance of culture. And that's where the right goes wrong. The right likes to ignore culture and the left likes to control culture, right? But there's people on both sides of the aisle, ordinary common citizens who enjoy culture. I don't think you can avoid enjoying culture, music, the arts, so on and so forth. Everybody here loves to watch a movie. Everybody here loves to watch Netflix or listen to music. So you can't say it's just wholly left, but the left does control our culture. It controls Black culture. It tells us, for example, if you're a what we call a conscious rapper, somebody who's going to deliver a message of strength and unity and Black power, the record labels won't push that unless they can control how that message is pushed. And the way they push that message is, it looks like they're an ally, but what they do is every single talking point is in juxtaposition to white people. It's as if Black culture can't exist without white people. So the left's idea of Black empowerment is to say, look at all the bad races. Whereas the Hotep ideology is like, forget the races. Let's look at our internal economics. Let's focus on building business and gaining power. And after we gain a little bit of power economically, then we can buy some attorneys and we can start controlling the courts. And after we control the courts, then we can start building our own military and having our military base. And this is how you get power. It's been like this since ancient Rome, since ancient Egypt. These rules don't change. But what the left likes to do is keep Black people in a state of victimhood and say, oh my God, you poor people, you can't do anything. We have to lower the bar so you guys can get into our institutions, and orange man bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, to keep us deflecting from actually building our own economic structure. And even when they offer opportunities for economic structure, it's never really anything good. They'll invest in Black business, but what kind of Black business is this? It's not one that's actually going to bring us power. They'll like invest in like a Black soda company, right? Or nothing that's really going to build a strong economic base. They're not investing in education unless it's whitewashed. And I suggest everybody go listen to my Thaddeus Russell interview to really get an understanding of how the Democratic Party operates and has been controlling the Black community. I'll give you another story. Down in South Carolina, this was, I want to say this is sometime after Reconstruction and before civil rights. And the Black people down there said they wanted more money for Black schools. Right? For Black schools, right? And the NAACP is supposed to be for Black people, but was created by white people or Caucasians or the European. The NAACP sends one of their Negro Black delegates down to speak with these Blacks. And they say, what's wrong? And the Black people say, hey, we need more money from the state for our Black schools. And NAACP says, I understand your gripe, but what we're going to fight for is integration into white schools. And they're like, no, we want Black schools, money for Black schools. And the NAACP says, no, we don't agree with that. We want to integrate you into white schools, because the NAACP and the Democrats want to whitewash. They don't want you to have your own culture. They don't want you to have your own cities. And if you look at the Black community, it wasn't racism that destroyed our economic power. It was integration, because once integration hit, then we left and fled our Black cities because we could travel anywhere. And that was really what led to the destruction of the Black community outside of Vietnam and all the other wars.
So tell me something about this George Floyd situation, right? So it's not the first time it happens. So it's been happening for a while now, or maybe always. See, it always happened. Maybe. Why is it different now?
Well, you have to understand that America's population is somewhere around 400 million. And when you have a population of 400 million and you have a police state, a militarized police state, you're going to have conflicts, right? And police aren't robots, they're humans. So they're going to make mistakes. They're going to have emotions. And sometimes they're going to do the wrong thing. But the funny thing about the George Floyd situation, although it's horrific what happened to him, and I send my heart out to his family, these type of stories don't go into the media until election year. Right now in the United States, we're in election year. The last time we saw a lot of these things being reported was the last election year, 2016. And there's this great book by Neil Postman called How to Watch TV News. And I suggest everybody get a copy. This is required reading. And in this book, what he says is the media can create a crime spree at any time they want. All that you have to do is just find all the stories of crime sprees and continue reporting on just those. And they do the same thing with Donald Trump. You know, it's as if to say, let's say we had a camera follow you around, right? And then the only thing that we put on YouTube was every time you made a mistake, but we don't show any of the good stuff you do. People would think, oh, this guy's an idiot, right? So that's what the media does. They select only the bad to get whites and blacks to fight each other and argue online, social media, so on and so forth in the election year because they want to drive people to the polls. You have to understand that more than half of Americans don't vote in the federal election. So half of Americans don't even believe in the American system. So in order to get people riled up to go to the polls, they find these stories, they highlight them, and they report on them around the clock to put black people in this hysterical state. And they're always running around like chickens with their head cut off. They're always emotional, not logical. These things do happen. It just doesn't happen as often as the media likes to portray it does. Now, the right understands this dynamic, but they fail to show sympathy or empathy towards the people that are dead. So the right loses this war because the left fakes the sympathy. And therefore, the left controls the conversation and therefore controls the black vote and the black population and the black ideology. So it's like the left is the puppet master and black people are the puppets. But there's a system above the left and the right, which are, I would say, communists, Bolsheviks and Mensheviks, if anybody understands the Russian Revolution. But the puppeteer is playing all of us. White people are puppets and black people are puppets, and they get us to fight each other. And that's really what's happening in America.
Actually, last week I had a conversation with a Brazilian guy in the platform here, and we were talking about the situation from a Mozambican perspective and a Brazilian perspective. And one thing we talked was about the Black Lives Matter movement, right? So I was telling him I heard an interview a couple of weeks ago from a conspiracy theorist guy, and he was saying that this movement is funded by corporations and by white people-owned corporations. There is an agenda to put black people in hysteria and fighting amongst each other, and blacks versus white, to keep us fighting while they are mastering a big plan, right? And I actually checked on their website, on the Black Lives Matter website, and I found that, corporations there funding, and also a huge merchandising, so T-shirts and caps, so it is a big business right now, right?
Oh yeah, Black Lives Matter is big business. I mean, in order to understand what's happening with Black Lives Matter, you'd have to first understand how hard it is to organize something, organize a group of people, right, and mobilize them, and then get them to go out into the streets. It's not an